Hello, and thanks for joining us today. I'm really glad you could be here. So today we're talking about something really important. We're talking about SEO, and most importantly, we're talking about ways that you can kind of hack the system legally, ethically, and like white stuff, the good stuff that you're allowed to do to be able to create link building for your website. Now, the reason this is important is because, look, I mean, Google's kind of a big deal. Being seen on Google is kind of a big deal. But the way to do it is to get a lot of traffic, a lot of people to get to your site, link to your site, for your site to actually be seen. If you can accomplish that, then it's kind of one of the most affordable and easiest ways to grow your business because you don't have to pay a bunch of money to get people there. Google actually organically sends people there. But how do you do it? Well, with us today is Travis Bliffen. Now, he's actually the founder of Stellar SEO, a top US link building agency. And as an Army veteran, Travis took a leap of faith after reading a magazine article about the future of SEO. He dived deep and spent a year perfecting his craft. And when he opened his firm in 2012, it quickly gained a reputation for being a cost-effective, honest, and leading SEO company in the country. Now, he has published many works on SEO and link building, as well as been a featured speaker at SEMPO Cities, among the other industry events as well. Travis, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here and look forward to talking about some SEO stuff with you.
Yeah, same here, man. I mean, let's start with, I think, the basics. So what exactly is link building?
Yeah, so basically SEO, which just to take one step back even further, SEO means this is what I can do to show up better on Google without paying for Google ads, basically. And that falls into a couple of categories. You have the map results, which a lot of people are familiar with those. And then below those, you have what would be called the organic search results, which basically are not Google My Business listings. And so to show up in both of those, there's essentially three main pillars that impact your ability to show up, how well you rank. And those would be the technical health of your website. So can Google crawl it? Can they understand it? Do they know what I've created? All right. The second one is content. Content's what brings people to your site. It's what keeps them on your site, and it's what brings them back to your site. If you don't have content, then you don't have the ability really to engage with the people that come to your site, and so there would be no purpose of having a website. Right. Pillar number three is link building. So once your site can be crawled, it's understood, you have good information that people want to see and that people are looking for. Link building, it gives a credibility or authority to that. And so essentially, Google said a long time ago, link building is a vote of confidence. And so when you go out and you get links from other reputable sources, it increases the credibility of the content that's on your website. And so, the obvious benefit of that is the more credibility you have, the more likelihood you have of showing up higher, because if all things are equal on the content and on the technical side, there's got to be a tiebreaker. And link building really comes down to being the tiebreaker in modern SEO.
Makes perfect sense. Why is it so important?
So I guess really just to kind of go back to that tiebreaker theme is, let's say there were 25 businesses, and in some cases there's way more. 25 businesses, they all want to be visible for the exact same keywords in the exact same location. They all have a WordPress website. It's, technically very sound. Everything's perfect. They all went out, they created the same great content, covers the same important topics. And now I'm Google and I'm looking at them and saying, okay, there's really nothing different between these that helps me distinguish which one's better. And so when you look at links, if you have 25, credible sources on a topic that mention site number 3 of the 25, and they don't mention the other sites, then Google says, okay, here's 25 credible sources on this topic, and now they're all mentioning this website. So even though they all have the other two parts the same, we're going to bump this site up above them because they have some credibility. And it's kind of like the online version of getting a personal referral or, word of mouth. Same kind of thing. You're getting some trust signals. Other sites are vouching for you, so to speak. And that's why it's so important, because if not, Google would have to come up with a different way to do it. And they have tried in the past and it didn't work out very well. And so for what it is, for the foreseeable future, links are going to remain one of the most important parts of the puzzle. Not that they're a replacement for the first two, though. And that's very important to know, too. You can't link build your way past a bad website or bad content. And there's other things you have to do. But when you do all those things together, link building really is kind of the fuel on the fire, so to speak. It kicks it up to the next level.
Are there different types of link building that's out there?
There are, and so whenever you establish a link building campaign, what you really have to keep in mind is what is the desired outcome. Links can help you rank better in Google, but that's not the only thing that they can do. Let's say that you are opening a new restaurant in a city, and then the local news station picks up a story about this new opening and they link to you from their homepage. Rankings aside, people are probably going to see that post, click on the link, and then go to your website, find out about your opening, and they'll attend it, right? So, SEO aside, there is a value of getting that type of link placement. That kind of falls into what traditionally we call the PR, right? Another thing that you might want to have happen with link building is simply to gain credibility with an audience, right? So, say that you wanted to get into a brand new market. If you were able to go out and contribute to the top 20 sites that people in that particular industry read and visit, then you're going to get exposure to them. So, even if the link is not passing a lot of immediate SEO value to you in that case, you're getting brand recognition, you're getting credibility, and you're probably going to generate some referral traffic as well from that. So, that's another type of link building. Some people call that content marketing, but it falls into the link building wheelhouse, right? And then you have the other segment of it, which are this is link building that I'm doing to specifically help something rank better. And so there's two more areas of that. There's link building for Google My Business, and it kind of has its own set of rules because whenever you're trying to rank better in the map pack, um, no follow links can be beneficial. Links from low authority sites that are really relevant to the city that you're in, those are very beneficial, even if it's unrelated. If you're an auto repair shop in Chicago and you get a link from a hair salon and a dog groomer and a chicken farmer website, right? They're all in Chicago, so that link's still actually going to be very helpful. And a lot of people skip over those, but when it comes to ranking in the map pack, that type of link building works really well. Um, and then you have the last one, which is usually where people start when it comes to link building. What kind of links can help me rank organically for particular keywords? And so that's kind of the other thing. And the real purpose of those is to improve rankings by building authority, by building those credibility signals. And a good link building strategy, you'll actually find that you usually get 3 or 4 of these all as part of the same strategy by doing actual outreach to different clusters of things. And so those are kind of though the main types of link building or the main ways that you might want to use it. And it's very just it's outcome based, right? As long as you pair the tactics to what you want to happen, link building can work great. Where you see most people run into issues, they didn't choose the right tactic for their desired goal.
So, what's the benefit of doing this versus not doing this? I mean, give me a rundown of somebody that doesn't do any link building versus somebody that does.
Yeah. And so I guess the first thing to understand with that is if you are in an industry or an area where you don't have much competition or they're not very sophisticated competition, in some cases, you won't even have to really do link building, right? If you're in a smaller town and there's 2 or 3 people that do what you do, sometimes having a website is enough. That's less and less the case now as kind of the SEO industry matures, but there still are plenty of examples where you don't need to do it. All right. The benefit of link building, it comes to looking at a specific application and understanding what you want to achieve. And so let's say that you want to sell domain names. All right. So if you have a website about domain names and you look at what are the websites that rank in the top 3, 4 spots for this domain name keyword, what you're going to see is that they have a lot of site-wide authority and they probably have a lot of links also to the page that is ranking for that. And so if you go and you kind of reverse engineer that, you can figure out, okay, I'm going to need X number of links to my site and then even X number of links to this page on average in order to really be competitive for this term. And so links are really the benefit of links is that they help you achieve the rankings that you're after, or they help you achieve the goal that you're after. But links are really just a tool. And as long as you use the right type of tool for the outcome, that's the benefit. And it's really much the same benefit that you would have from an overall SEO campaign. It's just part of the toolbox, right? And if you match that, if you pair it, the benefit is that you achieve the desired outcome or desired goal, which can vary.
What about if you're just getting started? If you're just kind of a beginner in this, what are some tips that you kind of have of some things people can do to start making progress with link building?
Yeah, and so probably one of the easiest places to start, two really easy places to start. Number one, if you're actually a location-based business, so you have an office that people come to, or you have a service area office, one of the easiest ways to get links is by getting citations built to your website. Citations are simply local directories that list your business name, address, and phone number. You can do those yourself. There's a lot of good services like Bright Local and Whitespark. It costs $2 to $4 per citation, but those are not harmful. They help set the stage with a basic foundation, and they do have benefit in helping you rank in the map pack. Building citations isn't the stopping point, but if you're a brand new business and you say, "What do I do first?" That's a great place to start. A second good place to start is, who do you have contact with directly from doing your work? So if you have suppliers, if you have contractors of your company that work with you in that way, anybody that you might interact or work with on a day-to-day basis that's outside of your company that has a website, there's going to be an element of relevancy there, or else you guys wouldn't be working together. But you also may be able to simply ask them, "Hey, could you add us onto your resource page? Could you mention us?" And that's an easy way to get a link, right? Again, it's kind of a foundational move. It's not going to help you rank for a highly competitive keyword, but we're starting to put things in motion. From there, you kind of branch out and you think about, what's local to me. And this is, because a lot of businesses are location based, and so that's why I'm kind of leaning towards location based link building tactics right now. The next thing is, what sites are around me, what people are around me, because sometimes those are easy. If you're Forbes or Inc. or Business Insider, your website gets probably pitched thousands of times every day by people trying to get a link, right? If you live in a medium-sized city and there's a local newspaper website, they're not going to get pitched 1,000 times every day. And so you're going to have a much easier time actually reaching the person. They're going to be more receptive, more willing to have a conversation with you. And so that's the next step, is who's around me, what are local websites, local things that I can reach out to, because there's authentic connection there. I'm in the town, you're in the town, maybe we know each other, our kids play sports together. Now you have started to build up this basic foundation of links, right? And then from there, you can start to get into a lot of other tactics. But if I'm a brand new business owner, I've just put my website online and I'm trying to figure out like what's A, B, and C steps I could possibly do here. That's the route I would go. And it works out as a great foundational thing. And the benefit is, a lot of those things most link building companies don't do. And so they're not going to come back and reverse engineer that if one of your competitors hires a link building company most of the time. Because if they use automation tools, things like that, to screen sites, most of the location-based websites, things like that, they're going to get weeded out as part of the process.
What about if you're getting beyond beginner and you're really trying to put together like an impactful campaign? So how do you kind of progress from the beginner stage to putting together a real link building campaign that can really, make a difference?
Yeah, and so the process that we use, and we've used this to build very large enterprise level link building campaigns, is you segment goals down to a specific landing page, right? So using that domain name example from earlier, let's say you have a page on your website for domain names, and that's the target keyword. So what's the first thing that you do? You look at who are the top 10 ranking websites, or the top 10 ranking pages more specifically, for this particular keyword. And then you want to understand what exactly is it that they're doing. And this is on the link building front, but also relevant to the page content, right? Because you might figure out that all of the top 10 ranking pages are a 5,000 word blog post about domain names and not a sales page. So if you say I'm going to promote my sales page, you've already missed the search intent, and so you're going to have to build a lot more links, and you still might not get where you want to go. So that's the first thing that you have to do, is make sure that what you're promoting aligns with what Google thinks people want to see when they search for something. And that's something over the past 2 years they've updated more and more and more frequently, as part of their updates, is search intent, query intent, basically understanding what the user might want to see or expect to see based on how they search. The second part from there is, once you figured out, okay, I know that this type of page, this type of content is what Google likes, this is what they want to show, then you look at what links do the competitors have. And that's the kind of the next natural progression, is if these sites have the similar content, they rank on the first page, and they have links from these sites, then you can reason that if nothing else, the links they have are probably not preventing them from ranking because they rank, right? And you have to have a level of understanding about what's a good link, what's not, some screening criteria like that. But that's a good second place to do it, because now you figured out, here's a bunch of link opportunities relevant to this specific page. And so when you're trying to then scale that out to be more competitive, more aggressive, then you simply take that same process and you apply it to 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 pages simultaneously. And so what happens then is you have a lot of content revisions, a lot of outreach going on, a lot of new links coming in. Each one of them is targeted to a particular page, and it's well focused, and there's a good plan behind it. But now you've accelerated the pace at which you can grow and improve your website.
You talked about seeing competitors' links. How do you do that?
So there's a lot of tools that make it easy. We use Ahrefs. It's probably one of the best tools out there with regards to link data. We're not an affiliate of them or anything. It's a really good tool. And so if you just go to Ahrefs, you basically plug in a keyword. You can look at the top 10 ranking sites for that. And there's a column called domains. And basically you click on that link and it's going to show you these are the sites that link to this page. So finding it's pretty easy. We actually have on our website called the Definitive Guide to Link Building, and it walks you through step by step the process that I mentioned of identifying the content and then finding those links. So it really will walk you. It's like 12,000 words. So if you haven't figured it out by the end of that guide, then it may not be your forte to get into link building, but it's pretty easy to find them. The hard part is figuring out how to replicate them. And that's where you have to look at, what are they? How did they likely get these? Do I have something comparable? So finding them is pretty straightforward. Figuring out how to replicate them, that's where things start to get a little bit more tricky.
So what about organic links? Have you talked about that? Like what exactly are organic links?
Sure. So there's basically a couple schools of thought when it comes to link building. One is that you actively go out and you promote a page, a website, a lot of pages, in order to try to get people to link to you. And you do that by outreach. You're directly trying to engage somebody and gain a link. Organic or natural link building is what I hear it called more commonly, is more so the process of trying to naturally attract links without directly promoting something. And so a really good way to do that is by ranking for informational keywords. So let's say that, here's a good example. Actually, we a couple years ago wrote a blog post about scholarship link building. I think it's a really overplayed strategy. There's a lot of spam in it, and I really just don't like it as a strategy because of that. So we wrote an article basically explaining why we thought it was kind of an outdated strategy and why it was harmful. And so that started ranking for things like scholarship link building, scholarship link building's dead, so on and so forth. So when people were doing research, they would actually stumble across that article and mention it because it's one of the first results they saw when they were doing that. And so I think we picked up a link from Neil Patel, a couple other sites like that, really authoritative websites, without any outreach, without anything other than writing, a 800-word blog post and ranking it for some informational keywords that would be something relevant to discuss at the time. And so that's how you naturally build links, is by strategically figuring out what types of things the people who are likely to link to you are going to be researching, and then looking for opportunities to rank your own content for those informational terms so that you get discovered when they're doing research. And you know, probably half of all the links on the internet, if not more, come from that exact process, right? You hire a writer, the writer says, okay, I'm going to write this topic that I don't know anything about. Let me go and pull up the top few results for the X, Y, and Z. Okay, this is a good stat in this one. I'm going to link to it. And then they move on to the next one. It's just a byproduct of how the industry mostly operates right now. And so if you use that to your advantage, then you can actually pick up some really good links passively. And so that's what I would call or classify as natural link building in this particular case.
So, what are some other ways that you think you can effectively use these kind of organic link building techniques?
And so, I mean, aside from there's really two benefits of this, right? If you look for the intersect between people that would link to you or people doing research, but also with your ideal client or your client persona, then it actually can turn link building into a really good sales tactic of sorts. So let me clarify that a little bit. Say that we were going to write a law firm marketing guide. And we know that the director of marketing at law firms might have an interest in some of those topics, but we also know that some other people in the industry might want to cite research or studies or statistics from a guide about law firm marketing. And so if that starts to rank for the informational terms around it, people are going to link to it, number one. And number two, whenever you address topics within that as well that are problem areas or pain points for that director of marketing role at law firms, then they're going to find the content. And so they might actually end up, contacting you, becoming a lead, downloading what you have. And so what this creates at that point is a natural cycle, right? You rank for some informational terms, people link to it naturally, you rank for more and more people see it, and now you have this like self-sustaining, self-growing source of leads and links all in one guide, right? And so if you really go and you stop and think about, where's the overlap, and you can create something that falls into that, then it works out really well to do both. And that's what I would say is probably the most underused technique I see still today, is people don't look for something that hits the overlap. Because conventional wisdom is you have, different kinds of pages on your website. You have some pages that are really only meant to attract links, and you have some pages that are meant to be educational to get top of funnel people. And then you have conversion pages, which are bottom of funnel. You're trying to get people to schedule a consult or buy with you, whatever. But as marketing gets, less and less linear, it doesn't go through that. And so if you can find overlaps, then you can pull out a lot of additional leads that are well qualified. And so there's so, like, we could have a 6-hour podcast about how to get into it. But that is a really great topic and is a great question because a lot of people don't necessarily think of that yet. And so it's something that definitely, if you can figure out how to employ that for your own business, your own website, then you have a lot of potential value there.
How important is the content piece of this? You mentioned content and some long pages and pages that are designed for different purposes, but the actual content on the page, blog posts, whatever you're trying to promote, how really important is that to getting your rankings?
So the content is really important, but maybe not in the exact way that you would think, right? So for years, people have been saying create quality content, and then right on the heels of that, somebody comes behind them and says, I hired 3 doctors to write this guide for me, and there's a spun version of it outranking me. And they're really frustrated. And so what that tells us is what Google wants, where they want to be and where they actually are with regards to understanding the quality of content, not quite in the same place yet, right? They're getting better and better with time, and these past 2 years of updates, they've closed some of those loopholes and it's gotten better. But if the only way that you evaluate it is by saying, well, I wrote extra good content and spent double the money on it, but I still have been outranked, it's very frustrating. but you have to think about it big picture. SEO, paid traffic, social media, email, those are just channels to get people to the guide. Once you get them there, the experience they have with the information you've provided, that could determine if they never come back to your site again, or if they go on and contact you and become a really good qualified lead that becomes a long-term client. And so, if we said, well, let's isolate this into a funnel, can we create less than exceptional content and possibly get rankings? You still can. But then if you think about SEO for what it is, just a source of traffic like any other, you wouldn't want to, right? Because even if you did rank, they're not going to have a good experience. And so, the technical answer to that is a little bit different than if you think about it from a marketing standpoint. And obviously I recommend you create something really good, because anyway people get to it, you want them to want to continue to interact with you.
Hmm. What about do's and don'ts? What do you see people doing wrong? They shouldn't be doing. What are things that everybody doing SEO and doing link building should be doing?
Yeah, so I'd say one of the biggest mistakes I see, and this is kind of a funny mistake, is it's easy to get inside your own head when it comes to link building. So if you go online and you read very long, you can nearly petrify yourself with fears of all the things that could go wrong if you do anything, right? And Google doesn't help. They really add to that by being mysterious in their explanations, right? Like some guidelines say basically any attempt to solicit links is trying to manipulate Google, right? And so if you take that very seriously, then you're left to do nothing, right? And some people, they fall into that because they don't want to upset Google, but as a result, they never rank anything and they never get any Google traffic anyway. So I'd rather have them somewhat upset with me and at least get some rankings and traffic than have done nothing. And so that's the biggest one is don't be afraid to try stuff. Now, the cautionary tale with this is take some time to at least get a basic understanding of good and bad links before you try stuff, because even if you apply like some general knowledge, some general practices, you can steer clear of a lot of things that would be really harmful. And so those things that are really important is understand anchor text and understand how to use those. In 2012 and prior, if you wanted to rank for red shoes, you would go out and get as many sites to link to you as possible using that exact keyword, red shoes, right? After 2012, if you did that, you wouldn't have a chance of ever ranking for red shoes. You would get an unnatural links issue, right? An anchor text over optimization issue. And so that's one thing to understand is how should I be looking to get links to my site naturally, using natural anchor text to keep myself out of trouble. And then the second thing you have to look for and understand is what's a harmful link and what isn't. And one easy way to figure that out, even if you don't have a really deep understanding, is if you use a tool like Ahrefs and you say, here's a website I want to get a link from, and you plug that in, you can see, over the past 12 months, did they go from 100,000 visitors to 200? If so, there's probably something going on there. You want to steer clear of that site. Same token, if over the past month their traffic's doubled, or over the past year their traffic's doubled, they're probably doing some right things. And so even a quick check like that can sometimes, even without a lot of expertise, help you understand this site's either trending in a healthy direction or there seems to be an underlying issue. And if there's an underlying issue and you don't have the expertise to go and figure out what it is, then just steer clear of it and go to a site that doesn't have any issue. Right? And not all cases of traffic loss would necessarily mean a bad site. Say you have an e-commerce website, you discontinue an entire line, you might take off 5,000 pages. It's going to show a big traffic drop. It's not because your site had a problem or got penalized, it's because you discontinued a line. And we've seen that, enterprise level stuff. So if you know where to look, you can go further into troubleshooting those things. But if you're beginner level, just don't worry about it, move on to the next one, because there'll be plenty of sites that fall into it. And so the do's and don'ts there, don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to go out and get links, because if you do nothing, you'll gain nothing. And so that's going to be worse than, Yeah, I mean, if you already don't rank for anything and then Google penalizes your site, you have to fix that, but you still don't rank for anything. So you didn't lose anything, and you probably learned something useful along the way. And the do's is make sure you understand at least the basics of what's safe and what's a good link, what's a bad link. Because if you follow those guidelines, for the amount of links you're actually going to get as one person doing it yourself with limited experience, that amount of information can generally keep you safe. Once you get to scaling up a link building campaign, that's when you have to start getting into more of the granular checks and planning and strategies, because that's when more things can go wrong. But at a basic level, that's kind of those are some of the key things to keep in mind.
Travis, this has been awesome, man. I think you've given us a lot of actionable stuff to help us in this area, but where can we go to learn more?
Yeah, so the easiest place is just go to our blog, stellarseo.com/blog. There's a lot of good link building information on there, including that guide. The guide will actually walk you step by step through the process of building out your own campaign and understanding what kind of content you should have for that matter. So there's no, like, you don't have to download it. There's nothing like that. It's just there. Read it. You'll know about 500% more than you probably did when you started. That's where I would say. Beyond that, though, there's a lot of other great resources on there as well. But yeah, that's it. Just read, and here's something else just to add to that. There are so many differences of opinion when it comes to SEO, when it comes to link building. If you follow 10 different people, they're going to have 10 different opinions a lot of times. And so something to avoid is pick a couple of people that have demonstrated success, follow their guidance, but don't try to follow 10, 20, 30 people at once. Otherwise, you're not going to have any clue which way to go. And so that's the other thing I would say is pick your sources and then follow along with those to make sure you understand the ins and outs of it, because otherwise you'll get 5 different opinions to the same question from 5 different people. And so that's one area I see people struggle a lot.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming on. This has been really enlightening.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me. I had a great time.
So if you're watching this hopefully this sinks in. Like I said, when it comes to SEO, when it comes to link building, when it comes to being Google's friend, as well as being Yahoo, any of the search engines, and getting them to organically send you traffic, it really is the difference maker in building a 7-8 figure and beyond, not being able to. So we just scratched the surface of the stuff you can know, and they've got a great guide and tons of resources on Travis's site. So make sure you go to stellarseo.com. That's stellarseo.com. Grab that free guide they have. Take a look around at all the free resources they have so you can get started on the right track to do SEO and for link building in your business. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you visit stellarseo.com.